Right, so hello to anyone who decides to watch a YouTube channel that hasn't uploaded for a year. And to anyone who wants to watch a Premier League predictions video in, what day are we on? November the 10th.
Yes.
Well, the beauty of being 3 months late to do this is that we're probably going to be closer to the truth because we've seen the teams for 3 months already. So we can't be that wrong, surely. I'm gonna do my predictions. Snake will say whether he agrees or disagrees, and yeah, we'll probably end off by doing some predictions for the weekend's games, and I'll try and upload it before that they actually kick off. Otherwise, just look like we've cheated.
Mm. No.
So the last time we did a predictions video together, I'm just looking actually. Oh god, it was a while ago. Last time we did a predictions video, I thought we did one more recently than this.
I know we didn't do one before the season,
We did a season
although we did
review.
talk about it.
We did a Formula One season 20 for F1 2019 season review.
Oh, God.
So yeah, that's the last one as far as I can see, unless I'm missing something. No, that's it. So yeah, I'm gonna go from the bottom to the top of the league. Um, if I had fancy graphics, I'd put a graphic of the current table, but I'm cheap. I do things as cheap as possible.
Mm.
If you want to know what the table is, look at it, basically.
Look at it.
So we'll play some Fortnite as well, so that there's some gameplay going on. Can't promise we'll win any games because this season does feel slightly more difficult than the last season.
I do have a crown, so no pressure.
Before we crack on with some of my end of season table predictions, is there anything in the Premier League this season that has surprised you?
Surprised me. Mm.
Is there a team that comes to mind that's done radically worse or radically better than expected?
My biggest surprise is probably Tottenham Hotspur. I know they had a really off game against Chelsea recently, but yeah, I don't think any expected Tottenham to be where they are right now.
I get the feeling if we'd done a prediction in August after them losing Harry Kane and Son, we didn't think was the player he used to be, we wouldn't have put him very high on the table.
They seem to be a lot better without Harry Kane because they just seem to be more focused as a team rather than trying pass the ball always to Harry Kane.
Hopefully, their game on Monday against Chelsea was just a blip because it was for the first 10-15 minutes they looked unplayable and then they kind of fell apart quite tremendously. Two red
Yeah, it's a game.
cards.
It's a game they could have won, but they threw it away.
And they have been hit with the news that James Madison's going to be out injured until the new year, which I think is a big loss for them.
Yeah, plus the suspensions for the next game, it might not be so good for them.
Yeah, they only actually have 4 fit defenders for the game tomorrow against Wolves, so the defence kind of has to pick itself.
It's just, I say, it's a good opportunity for Wolves to win the game.
And one of them, I believe, is a teenage academy player, so
Mm.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back from that defeat against Chelsea. Um, I say in a negative way. I'm a Man United fan along with a Barnsley fan. I have to say Man United have been nowhere near as strong as I was hoping they were going to be. I mean, I know there's a lot of uncertainty with ownership, but Ten Hag kind of proved that he could do well with Man United last season. It just hasn't
I don't
carried
think any
on.
manager can improve Man United from where they are right now, to be honest. Or albeit like not too much. They're not up there, say with Manchester City, definitely nowhere near there, or Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham. They're like a mid-table team now, and that's partly down to the owners for not spending. And I've even heard rumours that they might lose Casemiro now as well.
Yeah, which I have to say, 6 months ago I'd have been devastated about that. This season he looks a couple of yards too slow, so I don't know if
I
how
mean,
big.
say there's who are you going to replace him with though? And there's not
Yeah,
many star players. There's not many players that are shining at the moment at Man United.
no, I can't disagree with that. Um, the only other thing that comes to mind as I'm being shot at. um, nope. Anything comes to mind as well is just how big the gap seems to be now between the Premier League and the Championship. I think we've seen it sort of being widened over the last sort of 5, 10 seasons, but I feel like it's right now it's bigger than it's ever been, and that's been demonstrated in the performance of the teams that have come up.
Well, Fulham, Nottingham Forest, and Bournemouth, who were all promoted a couple of seasons before, they managed to stay for 1 year, and they're in it this season. And then it was almost the exact opposite now. you know, the newly promoted teams are all struggling now, and it's not looking good for them. And yeah, you look at the points and the goal difference; it is quite the gap from the four teams at the bottom to the rest of the teams above them.
Yeah, and I think that'll be reflected when I go through what I think my bottom three is going to be uh, in a minute. What I would say is I don't know how you want me to do this. The slight caveat with predicting the bottom of the table at the moment is Everton have the threat of a points deduction, but there's nothing confirmed yet.
I feel like we should go along with um, well, nothing's happened, so we should just stick with our
Base it.
prediction as if we never heard about the points deduction.
I can always as well mention where I would put them if they do get hit with the points deduction.
For sure.
I'll start off with my team in 20th. Um, I was kind of toying between two teams for this. Um, I've put Burnley bottom.
Yeah, interesting.
They've really disappointed me. They absolutely cruised the championship last season, and out of the three promoted teams, they were the one that we all thought would adjust to Premier League pretty well, and mine. Well, I didn't think they'd have any trouble staying up, if I'm honest. But they've looked so poor. Um, they don't really have a goal scorer by the looks of it. Vincent Company, I think, is getting away with a lot of stick because I think any other manager in this situation would be getting stick. Frankly, they seem
Yes.
to try and attack teams that they shouldn't. They have a very go for it approach, which is admirable, but I don't know. In some games, I think they've been a bit naive. Uh, I don't know. I don't see any way they. I don't think there's any chance for them now to stay up. I really don't. I think they're in big trouble.
There
Them,
hasn't been a sacking in the Premier League since it started, which is quite a surprise, but you feel like as it comes towards Christmas that a few heads are going to roll and there'll be some changes. And yeah, surely Vincent Company is in the firing line. And yeah, I mean, it feels like a completely different team that's entered the Premier League. I know it's much tougher to enter the Premier League, but out of all of them, it's you'd expect Burnley to be better than the other two newly promoted teams, and it just hasn't gone their way.
they've got Arsenal away this weekend, which is not. It's not a game I see them getting anything out of, and yeah, they're one of the
With
teams
where
who.
they're currently at, though, they've just got to try anything now with the sort of games they've got. Every game's going to be tough for them, so they got to look at that Arsenal game like they can win it. at least try and get something from the game.
I need to get into the circle.
Say, I got it.
They got so many plaudits, not just for the fact that they absolutely dominated the championship, but the style of football they played in the championship. I can see that they've tried to bring that style of play with them into the Premier League, but it's just not working. Is there a case to be made that company
Yours,
needs to...
yeah, you also question his management. Like, was it just a fluke? And he was granted good players for the championship, but then as soon as it got to the Premier League, he doesn't know what to do.
There seems to be a
Who knows?
stubbornness on this style of play. Is there a case to suggest he needs to look at changing it?
Mm. Well, he's got to change something, but are the players good enough as well? There's only so much a manager can do as well. Oh God.
Ah! Where the hell has he gone?
He was above you.
I'm damn it.
No, my crowd.
Sorry.
Took it. His teammate died, so.
See, I've put Burnley bottom. I don't know if that's where you would have. I don't know if you'd have put them bottom, but I'm guessing you would have put them in the bottom three.
I wouldn't put him bottom. I'll put him bottom there.
I knew what I
I
meant.
don't know. It's very tough. Very, very tough. I'm not going to disagree with you with that, because just looking at it, it was really tough to call between Bournemouth, Burnley, and Sheffield United who's going to finish bottom. But yeah, that's a good call.
In 19th, this probably won't surprise you either. I've put Sheffield United.
Ah, yes, yeah. If I had to pick someone bottom, I'd probably sway it to Bournemouth. But yeah.
Sheffield United. Now, I've got to be honest, I didn't have much hope for them coming into this season. There seems to be some big issues with them able to sign players that are good enough. They haven't really strengthened their team. There doesn't seem to be a lot of money available to Paul Heckingbottom. I have to say, in the first sort of 4 or 5 games of the season, although they weren't picking up many points, they were very unlucky. I think pretty much most of their sort of opening games, they only lost by 1 goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went on a really poor run of form after that. And then last game out, they beat Wolves, who had just come off the back of beating Man City, which was just kind of the most bonkers result ever.
Yeah, I think that was more to do with Wolves not playing well. Apparently, Wolves were all over them the first half, and yeah, they had a really poor second half, from what I heard from the commentary. Yeah, they've got the worst goal difference in the league, -21, which is
There's a competition for that.
yeah, well, Burnley and Bournemouth not far behind that, but Newcastle helps with the goal difference on that. So, yeah, they do look like a solid team, but it always just seems like, I think it just happens way too often to sway against them. I can remember being a Forest fan. I remember Forest narrowly beating Sheffield United 2-1. And I swear there were other games early on in the season where they just narrowly lost by a goal. Had things swayed the other way, they could have probably picked up more points. I think there's potential in there, but yeah, there's a lot of issues. They've got to stop conceding goals. Just concede way too many.
There's so many people here. I'm down.
Okay.
Yeah, they conceded. They look like solid. I think if they added like a top defender and a goal scorer into that team, I'd back them to stay up. I don't think they're a million miles off, especially with how
the goal scoring's not bad, but yeah, they could do with better strikers for sure. It's just defensively, I think that they're struggling to get results because even when they do score, sometimes it's not enough.
Of course,
They concede too many.
one of their key defenders is Chris Basham, who suffered that horrific injury, and I think against Fulham, when his ankle kind of turned the unnatural way.
Jake, stop doing
So I'm guessing he's not going to be back anytime soon, based on that kind of injury. So
Yeah.
that's a big blow for them. If we talk about managers being under pressure, I think Heckingbottom is under pressure, but I think a lot of it's not his fault. I don't think he could be getting much more out of his team than what he's currently getting. Sometimes you have to just look and say,
I didn't hear any big signings when they got promoted, and any big changes in the transfer window. Is Heckingbottom going to get the support that he needs, especially come Christmas as well, when the second transfer window opens?
Yeah,
it's it can make the difference between staying and getting relegated.
there's a couple of other bad teams towards the bottom of the Premier League, which means if one of these newly promoted teams can make some good signings in January or just find a bit of form, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that they could still stay up.
Yes.
So yeah, that's Sheffield United at 19th. Now the final relegation spot, I was toying between two teams for this one. You probably can guess which two. Luton Town and Bournemouth.
Yes.
It pains me to say this because I really, out of the two, I want this team to stay up more than I want the other one to. But I have put Luton in 18th.
Okay. That's a bit of a surprise, but yeah.
I will explain why I've not put Bournemouth in my bottom three. You mentioned earlier about the fact that there's not been a managerial sacking yet in the Premier League. I'm expecting
yes.
I'm expecting that Bournemouth manager to be the first one to go.
And
I'm thinking I think they've got players that are good enough to get them out of trouble if they've got the right manager.
Well, of course, a lot of people were against the sacking of Gary O'Neill, weren't they? Before the season even started.
That's I thought it was a bad decision at the time. With several months down the line now, I think it's an even worse decision.
Yeah, you called it. It is a really bad decision. Yeah, I have a feeling they've got some regrets in there. Now they're in trouble.
They are, and I don't have any confidence in what this new. I don't even know what this new manager's style of play is or what he's trying to achieve. They got absolutely mullered by Manchester City last weekend, which, to be fair, a lot of teams will get mullered by Man City, but there's just nothing from Bournemouth right now that inspires confidence to me.
Yeah, obviously, if you're going to lose to Manchester City, don't lose by too many goals. And when you see a team lose by so many goals to Manchester City, it kind of gives you an indication of what quality of a team they are. So to concede 6 times in the game is a lot.
So anyway, back to Luton actually, because I put them in 18th. I have to say, out of the 3 promoted teams, there is no doubt in my mind that Luton have done the best out of the 3, and a draw against Liverpool last weekend was very impressive actually.
I think it's a good point to note that their goal difference is quite significantly better compared to the 3 teams below them as well. Despite being level on points with Bournemouth.
I don't remember a game this season where someone's put 5 past them. I think they've maybe lost a couple 3-0, but that's about it really.
And their recent draw against Liverpool, almost winning the game, was to be inspired.
their home form is proving to be pivotal. I think they've got all their points at home, if I'm not mistaken. If not, they may have got one draw away from home. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was always going to be key for Luton. And you know, you look on paper, they probably have got the worst team in the Premier League. But I tell you what, that you can tell that team plays for their manager, and they work their socks off in every single game.
See, this is where I think Bournemouth will get relegated, and Luton will probably stay up now, which I don't think I would be saying. Because I thought they'd do terribly, and they're proving me wrong. I did say I just don't see Luton getting anywhere in the Premier League, and they are flying. They're doing a good job. Just try and
It
stay there.
it kind of surprises me actually, given how quick they were, how quick they got rid of Gary O'Neill. But this manager's still got a job.
Yes, that's the difference, really. It's like, can they get the manager to keep them up? And in my eyes, I don't think they'll get a manager that will get them to stay up. Whereas you think the other way, they'll probably get a manager and they'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, you know. Who knows who they're going to hire, you know? Who's
I'm
going
just
to take the job?
I was just looking through Bournemouth's results. Their only win this season as well was at home to Burnley.
Hmm.
It's not it doesn't inspire confidence. I I'm
No.
gonna stick with Luton in the bottom three, but what I would say is if they don't change their manager in Bournemouth until February March time, I'd be inclined to switch those two around.
Yeah. Uh, Obviously, I can't see Luton improving massively over the transfer window with the money they've got, but you know,
Well,
there's a lot of teams that can go backwards and spend loads of money on players, and it can end up being a disaster. And turns out they're not playing as well at the time as they thought they were going to be. So
yeah, and I have to say, no matter what happens, I think Luton can be very proud of what they've achieved, and the signings they've made this summer are with a view that if they do get relegated, they'll have a good squad assembled for the championship. So I don't think either way they've not been silly about spending tons of money trying to stay up. They've been sensible and being very wise, I think, with their money, knowing that the likelihood is they probably will go back down.
it's good publicity for them, you know. You know, rich people will, you know, look at that, investors, and they'll look at the performance, and you know, they might buy the club, and they might get some money going in. So it's only good news for Luton, what in the position they're in. So
And I love as well to mention the story of Pelly Rudder-Kampanzu, their central midfielder, who has been with them all the way from the National League, the fifth tier, all the way up to the Premier League, and is still there now.
mm,
And
nice.
that's quite a journey. You don't get many players now that A, spend that long with a club, and B, go on that sort of journey with that club.
No, say they do well maintaining their players, considering how much money they'd get for switching teams in the Premier League.
My only mild criticism of Luton's transfer policy, and this is speaking as a very biased Barnsley fan, is you can buy players from other clubs. You don't have to just buy them all from Barnsley, Luton.
Uh,
But in it's great to see our central defender from last season, our best player, Mads Anderson. Well, he was playing games in the Premier League, but I think a few weeks ago he's just picked up an injury. But he was playing quite regularly until then. So yeah, it's nice to see some former Barnsley players getting a chance at the Premier League with a team like Luton. So run for your life.
any reason for that?
No, not really. So yeah, we put Luton's 18th, Bournemouth 17th. Now, I will do that with a caveat. And the caveat is that if Everton were to get the points deduction, is it 11 points? It was rumoured that it would be if they did get a points deduction.
12 points, I believe.
12, right?
Yes. The Premier League has asked for a 12-point deduction of Everton.
Right. I'm basing it right now
Whether
on the
that will go
current.
through or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm basing it right now on the current situation because I think that's the fairest.
But this is
Wave.
based on one charge. There's like over 100 charges for Manchester City. And,
Yeah.
you know, it seems very unlikely that they're going to get punished.
It's one
So-
rule for certain teams and one rule for another.
Yeah.
So if they are to get that 12-point deduction, I would actually put Everton in 18th. So
Yes.
there's hope for Luton yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, although Everton have been playing well lately, I think even if they did have a 12-point deduction, that's, you know, they could still stay in the Prem if
Yeah.
they keep playing the way they are.
And on that note, I haven't put Everton in 16th.
Ah.
The team that I've put in 16th is Fulham.
Oh, yes.
Last time out, was the last game that 1-0 defeat to Manchester United? I think it was, yeah, where Man United got that last minute winner.
Yeah.
Fulham's biggest issue, I think, coming from last season to this season, because last season they were very impressive in the middle of the table. Biggest issue for me this season seems to be a lack of goals.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise, really. I don't think many people expected Fulham to be underperforming. But yeah, you say the lack of goals. Only 9 goals scored.
I mean,
The
if you
only team
don't,
who has scored less than that is Burnley this season,
Oof.
with only 8.
Yeah,
So yeah, not impressive. But I guess at least their defense is not as bad, and they've been able to rack up more points than the teams below them.
now they signed. I know they signed Jimenez in the summer from Wolves, but I have to admit, I think he's struggled ever since that head injury he got a couple of years ago. I don't think he's the player he used to be. And Mitrovic, who they always seem to rely on for goals, I think he's had a lot of injuries this season, which hasn't helped. Is he still at Fulham, Mitrovic? I can't. I'll say this now.
I
He's probably.
can't remember, but he was the standout player for Fulham when I watched him
Yeah.
last season.
Did he move on? Because I haven't, like I say, I haven't seen him around the squad. Mitrovic. So this is where he does him. He moved to the Saudi League. Right. There we go. And I don't want to say one player makes all the difference, but losing a player of Mitrovic's caliber, and I think more importantly, they haven't replaced him. I don't think with someone who's as good.
No, you're probably right. It does seem like a bit of a blow. But even so, I still think they should be a bit higher than that in the table. I think it should be they should be performing a bit better. But,
Do you think? Would
hey.
you think I put them too low, or would you say that's
Uh,
about?
no, I can see why you'd put them down there. I
I
think
would.
the transfer window is something they need to really look into. Though there is quite a gap, obviously. They have got points ahead of the teams behind them. So, although they're doing badly, maybe if they're performing like this last season, they would have got relegated. But this season, they might just get away with it.
I would. I say. I would say. Oh, you're dead.
I'm on the ground, yes. I'll try and crawl to you.
Oh shit, person.
Let's rift out of here.
Ah! That's if I don't die first.
Don't be a hero.
I was a hero. Oh,
We are heroes who have turned to zeros.
Thanks for helping me get that survival medal.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, I said get 5 limbs, and I only got 2, and you got 7. So it's
Uh,
been-
that helps.
yeah. So even if I put Fulham 16th, I don't see them being in too much trouble. I
Mhm.
think they'll be a decent. I think they'll have a decent enough gap to be safe. I, I don't think defensively they've got any issues. It is they just need to score more goals, and
Mhm. Yeah,
if
I think they're a bit fortunate the situation that they're in. That there's just teams that are much worse off than them at the minute. So
I mean, they could always sign Chris Wood.
he's like our only striker we've got at Forest at the minute.
Only one who
Only he's
stays.
always injured. uh,
Um, I've put Everton in 15th.
mm,
Um,
okay.
what I would say, I think Sean Dyche deserves a lot of credit for the job he's doing at Everton because I think with any other manager they would have gone down last season, and I think they'd be in trouble if they hadn't have gone down last season. I think they'd be in trouble this.
I did watch the final game they had against Bournemouth, and they did the players did everything, and I mean everything, like literally diving for a penalty and stuff like that, which I wasn't too happy about, but they made it.
Yeah,
Yes, Sean Dyche. I think he had a really tough job, and Everton was still getting poor results. They weren't doing particularly well until recently. Actually, I'd say the past probably month or so. I'd like to say 3 4 weeks.
yeah,
He's really turned the club around right now, and they are being some pretty tough clubs at the minute. And yeah, they've shot right up the table with the points that they had because not too long ago they were right down there at the bottom.
yeah. They've won. So they've won 3 of their last. Oh no, that's an EFL Cup game. Ignore me.
I'd say
they,
the last 5 games they've won two, drawn one, lost two. So that's
they,
not too bad.
No, and they've won 2 of the last 4. It was, to be fair, ever since they lost at home to Luton on the
Hmm.
30th September, my points about Luton not getting points away from home just went out the window when I saw that. Yeah, since then they've looked a lot better. They've only lost to Liverpool in that since then. They've had a 3-0 win over Bournemouth. They won at West Ham and then they drew against Brighton, which I think all of those are very good results.
Yeah, West Ham and Brighton are particularly good results. Um, Definitely. Bournemouth was an important game to win for them, and they won it.
I'm glad they're finally showing some form because I was getting a feeling they were just going to be really bad all season again and just scrape survival, which they're kind of making a habit of doing of late.
I mean, unless if they have a slump in the second half of the season, I've, they look pretty good. The only big worry for every
Oh,
Everton fan is obviously the points deduction. So,
yeah. There's rumours a takeover is going to go through, which I think would be big news for them.
because even if the points deduction happens, when does it get implemented? Will it happen this season? Will it happen next? You know, because
I'm
they
just
just need to
saying.
implement it whenever they're ready.
I was
So,
about to say. I'd just say teams in lower leagues don't get delayed points deductions.
no, I mean, you
We've had
can't exactly see them getting a points deduction in May. So, you know.
no,
Uh,
we've had 2 teams in League One get points deductions this season already. Reading and Wigan, and they didn't get delayed. They got them straight away. So yeah, Premier League seems to have very different rules regarding.
I honestly think when they're ready to, I just feel like this should be an official rule. When they're ready to dish out the points deductions, it should start on the first day of the next season.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the fairest way of doing it. That way, for any team that gets deducted points, it will always fall on the same day, which is the first day of the seasons. So,
but I can say that um, is it underneath? Aha, found it.
I don't know where it is.
It's underneath.
I'm hitting every wall to try and find this treasure. So
I found it.
I'm glad you found it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what happens with that. But yeah, if they don't get any point deduction, I think they'll be fine. I think Sean Dyche will do enough to keep them safe in the Premier League. Although you just never know with Everton; they could easily go on a really bad losing streak. Now they are that kind of streaky team that can go on bad runs. But yeah, I'm putting them 15th, and yeah, I think they'll be okay. 14th, I've got Crystal Palace.
Interesting.
Some people would put them higher up than this.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that make me want to put them lower. I think they have a very thin squad, and by what I mean by that is, I think they're 2 or 3 injuries away from being in trouble. Woo.
Oh, someone else.
Yep. Oh God. That was a bush. There's a bush just walking around.
Not the good kind.
More than one team there. Yeah, recently they've had injuries to key attacking players, Eze and Elise, and their form has kind of dipped as well since then, so it kind of backs up that point. Again, I think they'll be fine. I'm putting towards the lower end of mid-table, though. Oh. That's just...
Couldn't hit them. They were building a lot of walls in front of me. I tend to struggle when teams build an awful lot, and I try and shoot the wall down and then just replace it immediately. I do struggle with it.
I would say, when I look at the current table, I have dropped Palace 3 spots from where they are right
there's
now.
quite a lot of spots. Yeah, it's a bold prediction.
I will say I like Roy Hodgson. I think he's a very good manager. He's not exactly a manager for the long term at Palace, given that he's in his 70s. But
I think what helps that he is a fan favourite, I believe, amongst Crystal Palace fans.
yeah,
So I do think that helps. And he's clearly doing something right, despite being 70 plus.
yeah. And despite his slightly ill-fated England reign, but
He's he's not the first, and he won't be the last.
But yeah, so I put them 14th, but yeah, they may end up a few spots higher, but to be fair, this sort of next group of teams, I would say, will probably end up very close together, so it could be any which order of sort of the next, I'd say, next 2 teams after this that I'm going to mention. So I'll put Palace 14th. In 13th, I've got Wolves.
Oh, okay.
And can I just say, Bournemouth, don't you feel ridiculous now? Because I have to be honest, even when they appointed Gary O'Neill, I looked at Wolves' squad and thought, they're going to struggle this season. But...
yeah, they have done in some games, and then, well, even recently against Sheffield United, and then this bizarre result they got with Manchester City and ended up beating them. Only Arsenal has managed to beat them this season as well. So, yeah.
If I compared like the squad they've got to where I think they should be, I would say Gary O'Neill is doing better than the squad he has, if that makes sense. Okay, basically I think he's doing a very good job given the players he's got.
Before the season I did back Wolves for relegation, but now I'm not so confident with that now, thanks to Gary O'Neill. Wolves did the right thing and picked up the Gary O'Neill at pretty much a perfect time, really, because Wolves were struggling towards the end of the season last season. So, yeah, they made the right call there. and
Yeah,
they're getting some brilliant results, some poor results, but they are getting good results as well.
I think their players are working very hard under O'Neill, and they really are doing what they can. I mean, they've drawn against Newcastle and Villa. Obviously, that big win against Man City. Yeah, they've had some really good results. So yeah, I think they're a good side, and I think they'll be absolutely fine. They could
Yeah.
end up below Crystal Palace. I feel like I think it'd be very close between those two and the next team. I'm gonna say, but yeah, I
I,
think for,
I personally have Crystal Palace above Wolves, but you know, all can change. It can definitely happen. Crystal Palace could definitely end up going down a couple of places.
and to be fair, I think if you spoke to most Wolves fans before the season started, if you told them they were going to finish 13th, I think they'd have bit your hand off for that. To be honest,
I don't know. There's some Wolves fans who think they'll be in top 10, and you know, but
most realistic
I
Wolves
think
fans.
realistic Wolves fans would know.
Yeah, I'll add
You
that.
know, there's always at least a deluded fan in you know in every club. There's always a group of them.
Do you have a med kit?
No, I have a shield potion though. Better than
Well,
nothing.
I'll take it. Um, I don't know what your actions be about to be about who I've put in 12th. That might give you some clues to who I'm about to say. I've put Nottingham Forest in 12th.
Not fifth.
Sorry, I haven't put you to win
Okay.
the league.
No, I mean they're currently 30th in the league. As a Forest fan, I'd be happy if they finished 12th. Very happy actually. Considering we have made some good signings for sure. Although I feel like since we've lost Brennan Johnson, we've been struggling with strikers. Chris Ward, I don't think he's playing well enough to say how much we paid for him. I think it was like 25 million or something. He's not playing as well as he should be doing as a striker. So yeah, we do need a quality striker over the summer, I think, which will help us move up the table even further. But we are getting some goals, but we could get even more.
Oh God, I can hear
12
people.
would be a very successful season for Forest, I think. Yeah, all I can say is thank you, Swansea, for giving us Steve Cooper. So, you know, because you know Steve Cooper might still be at Swansea had they not got rid of him. So,
Yeah, we talk about dumb managerial decisions and obviously talk about Gary O'Neill at Bournemouth. I think Swansea sacking get rid of Steve Cooper is probably it tops that one.
Carlo Ancelotti at Chelsea is another one I can think of. But yeah, definitely.
um, yeah, I think the hope for Forest was going to be that a one knee was going to be less injury prone this season, but that's clearly not the case.
Brilliant player. He's just his feet are made of glass. So it's a real shame, but when
I
he
think
does play for Forest, you do get excited when he's on the pitch.
you are
So
you are a much better team when he plays. That's the truth. He's just
although my favourite player at Forest is definitely Morgan Gibbs-White because he creates a lot of chances, especially for Awoniyi as well. But for a lot of players around him, he just creates chances, and he really is a fantastic player.
What do you make of the decision? Because obviously we lost Brennan Johnson to Spurs in the summer. What do you make of the replacement for him, Anthony Elanga?
Yeah, he's not a bad replacement. Obviously, I don't think he's as much of a goal scorer as Brennan Johnson is. Although I don't believe Johnson is getting much time on the pitch, being at Spurs. But you know, that's the club he decided to join. So you know, but yeah, he's doing okay so far. I think I have to see more games to have a bit more of a verdict on him in particular.
Be interesting to know that. Well, so a 1-knee would have got 3 goals each. But interestingly, Alanga's got the most assists for Nottingham Forest with 3. So he's very much a creator.
He is, but they're pretty low numbers to be fair, which I guess you could say is a good thing, 'cause it means that there are a lot of players within the team who score goals rather than just relying on one player to score all the goals, one to do all the assists. So usually when the numbers are low but they're all spread out, it's a good sign of a strong team.
Well, what surprises me is Gibbs White has not scored a goal yet this season. He only has 1 assist.
No, but I think that'd be harsh to just judge him on 1 assist. He's good in a lot of areas. He's good at times defensively. He's good
Very
at winning
hard
the ball.
working. Yeah.
He's I think his biggest quality is probably the chances he creates and his runs in particular. He's normally the player that's involved the most when it comes to Forest counter-attacking, which is what they usually do. That's the way Steve Cooper likes to play. He doesn't really like to have the ball with the Forest team. It's like, you know, let them have a pop at trying to go for goal. Once we get the ball, we try and do a counter-attack. That's the way Steve Cooper plays. And it works really well. And, you know, I believe him when he says possession isn't everything, because it really isn't in football nowadays.
When you've got players like Gibbs White, Alanga, and a 1-knee on the counter attack, it's good in a way sometimes to play that way because there's a lot more space behind the defence because obviously they've just attacked.
If you've only got 20% of the ball, but you've created just as many chances as the other team, then, or potentially more, then it shows that you're a lot more creative with the ball, with the amount of time that you have.
I think it's an intelligent way to set up in the Premier League as a smaller club as well, because a lot of the top teams in the Premier League are going to dominate the ball. So if you're comfortable sitting back and counter-attacking, it can play into your hands, really.
Yeah. Usually teams that just go for it and they end up conceding immediately, or they just try and park the bus. And then they don't create anything, so... Yeah. It's a good system. Particularly for the Premier League.
So yeah, I've put Forest in 12. You won't be disappointed with that.
No.
Like I said, they could...
I'd be happy.
Anywhere between 12th and 14th, I've kind of got Palace, Wolves and Forest very close together in that group there.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be nice to just finish the season without any concerns of relegation, so I think that'd be a good aim for them.
Perfect illustration in your last match, actually, the point you just made. So you beat Aston Villa last time out, which was very impressive. And let me just have a look at the possession stats. You had 26% possession.
Yeah, if you look at most of the Nottingham Forest games, they have very low possession, but it's what they do with the ball that counts.
Yeah. They're very hard to break down, and so teams have a lot of the ball, but they don't actually. It's difficult for them to do a lot with it.
Yes.
So yeah, 12th place for Nottingham Forest.